Hi home bakers, I'm Stone and welcome to the Mountaintop Kitchen. Today we're baking my pumpkin, cinnamon, and cranberry sourdough loaf, a twist on Maurizio Leo's recipe of the perfect loaf. Golden crust, soft crumb, and burst of sweet tart cranberries, plus the warm aroma of pumpkin and cinnamon. It's cozy, approachable, and absolutely irresistible. So let's get on with baking this sourdough, pumpkin, cinnamon, and cranberry loaf. Now, this base recipe comes from Maurizio Leo, author of The Perfect Loaf, which I purchased that book and it is awesome. You really should get it. Unfortunately, this particular recipe is not in the book, at least I don't think it is, but I will put a link to it right down below if you're watching on YouTube, because he does have it on his blog. So we're going to start by making our dough. And all of the quantities and ingredients will be listed here on screen, down below in the description box if you're watching on YouTube. Or why don't you just go to my Substack newsletter, link below too, for the full recipe with everything you need to know. Okay, so we're going to start by putting in our water and our sourdough starter. This is our Levain, which we started making last night. It's been fermenting for about 12 hours. All of the ingredients, again, will be below. So let's go ahead and get this into our bowl. If I can find a place to dump it in there. Okay. You need to use an active starter. This one is very active. It has peaked already. If you work with sourdough, you know it can be kind of sticky, but that's just part of the process. Okay, so let's get as much of that off as we can. All right, now we're going to just mix that up a little bit in our bowl with the water, just to kind of dissolve the starter, get it started a little bit. That's kind of sounds strange, getting the starter started. But anyway, we want to get it kind of mixed in with the water. And then I'm going to add in my milk. And I have some pumpkin. It has a really nice color and the moisture level is very good. It's not a dry pumpkin. It's very wet, as a matter of fact. Okay, so that's in. Let's go ahead and put in our cinnamon. And we have some sugar. Let's get that in. We have a little bit of salt. That goes in as well. And I have a mixture of all-purpose flour and bread flour, a higher protein bread flour. So let's get all that in there as well. Okay, we're going to mix this just for a couple minutes on the stir setting on our KitchenAid. So just for about 2 minutes on the stir setting on the KitchenAid. That's the lowest setting possible. And then we're going to move it up to number 2, just one notch, and we're going to mix this for about 8 minutes. So in about 10 minutes, we will be back to see how we're doing. Now I'm going to cover the dough and let it rest for about 10 minutes. We'll come back, put the dough hook on, add some butter, and we'll keep mixing. So let's go ahead and just cover this. We're going to let it set. That'll give it an opportunity to ferment a little bit more and be more workable. Okay, the dough's been resting for about 8 minutes. I've put the dough hook on, and now I'm going to start to add the softened room temperature butter. This is unsalted butter. So let's put the mixer head down and put this on stir. And we're going to add this one pat at a time. This will take about, 5 to 8 minutes to be totally incorporated. Okay, that's it on the butter. So I'm going to let this mix for about 5 more minutes until that butter is completely incorporated. Okay, it's been almost 8 minutes mixing the butter in. I'm going to go ahead and add in my mix-ins, which I'm using dried cranberries today. Let's get those in there. And you just want to mix these until they're incorporated into the dough. It looks like everything is mixed in there just fine. So I'm going to turn off the mixer, kind of push it to the side. And we're going to be using a 9 by 4 inch Pullman loaf pan today to make our bread. You don't have to. You can use a normal 9 by 5 inch pan. That'll be fine. And I'm going to bulk ferment in this container here. So I have it lightly greased. So I'm just going to turn my dough out, get it off the dough hook. Okay, good. And just turn it out into my bulk fermentation. And we're going to bulk ferment this at room temperature. You want your room to be about 75 to 77 degrees. If not, it might take a little bit longer, but we're going to bulk ferment for about 3.5 hours. And we're going to start with 3 stretch and folds at 30-minute intervals. So I'm going to go ahead and get this into my container. And in 30 minutes, we'll come back for our first stretch and fold. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and cover this, and we're going to let it start its bulk fermentation process for about 3.5 hours. And we'll come back in 30 minutes and do our first set of stretch and folds. Okay, it's been about 30 minutes, so we're going to do our first set of stretch and folds. I have a little bit of water here to wet my hand so my fingers don't stick to the dough. And we're just going to reach in and pull the dough up and fold it over. Rotate our container a quarter turn. Do the same thing for the next side. And again on the third side. And again on the remaining side. Just pull up, press over, and that's our stretch and fold. So we're just going to cover this again and wait another 30 minutes. So we'll be back in 30 minutes to do our second stretch and fold, number 2. Okay, we're ready for our second set of stretch and folds. Let's go ahead and open up our container here. Get our hand a little bit wet here. Reach in, grab one side, and pull up and stretch over. Turn the bowl a quarter turn, pull up again. And at this point, you can see that the dough is getting a lot more elastic. These are great containers for proofing your dough and doing stretch and folds. I'll put a link in the description box below for this very same set of containers. Actually, it comes in a set of 2. You can see behind me there's another one. This one's about a 4-quart. That's about a 6-quart back there. Okay, we're going to cover this and we'll be back to do our last stretch and fold, our third one, in about 30 minutes. All right, we're just about ready to do our last stretch and fold before we complete our full bulk fermentation. Now, Maurizio Leo is an expert in bread baking. I'm good at bread baking, but I don't have the breadth of knowledge that he has. And it's interesting that he's from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and he started his career as a software engineer and moved into baking. I lived in Santa Fe, New Mexico for 10 years. I'm retired from Los Alamos National Laboratory, and I'm now doing full-time baking in my retirement career. So we both have that New Mexico connection, but I don't know near as much about bread as he does, but I do enjoy baking it, and I do enjoy sourdough. Okay, so I'm going to do my last stretch and fold. Just wet my hand here. Reach in, grab one side, pull up, stretch, fold over, turn my container, quarter turn, do side number 2, stretch, pull up, pull over, side number 3, and you can see it's getting very stretchy and elastic, and it's firming up as that gluten develops. And then the last side, and fold that over. Okay, so I'm going to, now it's about 73 degrees in the Mountaintop kitchen here. So we're not quite at about 77, which would be ideal for about 2 more hours of bulk fermentation. So we're probably going to go for about 3 hours because we're at about 73 degrees right now in the kitchen. And we'll probably be that for a couple more hours. So let's let this ferment for another couple hours and we'll be back to shape and bake. Okay, we have now completed our bulk fermentation phase and our dough has risen considerably. We are going to go ahead and take it now so that we can work a little bit better with it. We're going to pop it in the fridge for about 15 minutes. Then we're going to come back, we're going to shape it and get it into our loaf pan. So I'm going to go ahead and pop this into the fridge uncovered. Okay, while our dough is in the fridge firming up a little bit, we're going to go ahead and flour our work surface so that we're ready to hit the ground running. I like to do it this way rather than, the way you always see it on TV. And la-da-da-da-da. That's fine. Okay, so I'm going to go get the dough and come on back and we're going to shape it. Okay, we're back. Our dough has been chilling in the fridge a little bit to help us handle it a little more easily. It's still going to be sticky and it's still going to be a challenge to shape it. So I'm just going to turn it out onto my work surface, my lightly floured work surface. Okay, all right. Let's get it there. Okay, almost people. There we go. Okay, we have our dough out. I'm going to put a little bit of flour on my hands to work with this dough. And I'm going to just shape it into a rectangle for now. I want to make sure we don't stick anywhere. So I'm just going to keep pressing it out, extending it. This is the pan that we're going to use, so we want it to be pretty much that shape once we have it rolled out. Again, make sure we're not sticking to the table. Get some more flour if we have to. Okay, and just keep pulling it out. It's fairly easy to work with. It is very wet and very sticky, but it's workable. Okay, so now I'm just going to fold one side up and over. Try to get some of the flour off. We don't want all that flour. And then the other side up and over. Again, try to get some of the flour off. And then I'm just going to take it and I'm going to roll it towards me. Kind of pinch it in as I go. Again, try to get some of that flour off. We don't need all of that. And there we have it. I'm going to sort of pinch the ends together. Okay. I'm going to turn it upside down and make sure the seam looks pretty good. And we're going to put it in our pan. I have lightly greased my pan. We're going to put it in the pan with the seam side down. So, in it goes. Now you can kind of press it down in there a little bit to kind of work it over to the edges. It's going to rise and fill in those spaces, but you can help it along a little bit by just flattening it out a little bit. All right, so what we're going to do now, we have it in our Pullman pan. I'm just going to cover it and we're going to let it do its final rise for about 2 hours in a warm spot. So once that final rise is done, we're going to come back and we're going to get this ready to bake. Okay, I am back with my fully proofed loaf of pumpkin, cinnamon, and cranberry sourdough bread. And, well, the dough, it's not bread technically yet. Now, I did follow the recipe from Maurizio Leo, but my loaf didn't quite rise up to the top of the pan, but I think that's okay. And I also decided actually to let it proof overnight in the fridge. And then I took it out this morning and let it sit out at room temperature for a couple more hours. But it is perfectly proof because if I stick my finger in there, it does leave an indent and slowly comes back and then leaves a little bit of an indent in there. So it is nicely proofed. So what we're going to do now is we're going to give a nice little egg wash. I have 1 egg plus about a tablespoon of milk here. And I'm going to give a nice egg wash to this loaf, as you can see. Now, I'm going to pop this in an oven at 400 degrees Fahrenheit, conventional oven. I'll put all of the temperatures for convection and times and all that right here, and also in the description box below if you're watching on YouTube. And of course, it'll be in my Substack recipe newsletter, mountaintopkitchen.com. You can get to it from there. And let's see, let me keep on doing this. Now we'll get it nice and good coverage on all exposed surfaces. Okay, I think that's getting close to it. Okay, looking good. Now I'm going to go ahead and pop this in to the oven. I'm going to bake it at 400 Fahrenheit, conventional oven, for about 10 minutes. I'm going to take it out, rotate it, drop the temperature down to 375 degrees Fahrenheit, and bake it for about another 30 minutes. And then I'm going to actually take it completely out of this pan, and I'm going to stick it back in the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes to brown it on all sides. Okay, so let's go stick this in the oven, see what happens. Okay, here we are. Look at this, that nice golden top, freshly out of the oven. I'm going to pop it out of the pan, and then we're going to stick it back in the oven for about 5 more minutes just to brown it on the bottom and on the sides a little bit more. So let's see if I can get it out of this pan without cracking it, because it looks absolutely beautiful. Let's see here. With them. Okay. Whew. All right, first I'm going to check the internal temperature. I need for it to be about 205. So let's go ahead and check it. I'm going to go in from the side in the middle because I don't want to damage the top. Let's see how much this is. Just about 200. So once I pop it back in for 5 minutes, it'll be up to 205. So I'm going to pop it in just for about 5 minutes just to brown up some of the lighter areas. Just directly on the rack, not in the pan. Okay, our loaf is nicely brown, is looking awesome. Look at this. But it's very hot right now. It's about 205 degrees internal temperature. So we're going to let it cool down for a couple hours before we cut into it. So in a couple hours, we're going to come back, cut into this, and we're going to test it. All right, our bread is almost cooled down. It's still a little bit warm to the touch, but it's been over 2 hours. So let's go ahead and take a serrated knife and let's cut into this. Oh, but before we do, have you clicked on that subscribe button yet down there? Please go ahead and do that. It really helps others to find our content. And we think we have a lot of good stuff to show. So let's go ahead and cut into this. All right, let's see. Let's just go right through here. All right, look at that. Mmm, yum. Look at that. You can see the cranberries in there, the bright orange color. Let's take a look here. Look at that. That looks absolutely amazing. And it really smells good. Okay, but the proof is in the taste. So let's give this a taste. So good. I think this would be great with a little bit of butter on it, some coffee in the morning for breakfast. It is so tasty. This is a beautiful loaf. So, if you like this recipe, how about trying this one right up here? We think you're going to like it too. And thanks for joining us today on the Mountaintop Kitchen. We'll see you next time.